In episode 154 for January 4th, 2021, the first episode in my series on how to break into a cybersecurity career with co-host Kevin Johnson. This year, make yourself a resolution to take your digital privacy to the next level by using a Faraday sleeve for your smartphone, laptop, and key fobs. And if you want the best and highest quality privacy products on the market, you need Silent Pocket. Check out their full product line at silentpocket.com and use discount code SHAREDSECURITY at checkout to receive 10% off your order.
Is your team starting to show signs of fatigue from traditional security awareness compliance training or from phishing assessments that target them for those teachable moments? As we've seen in recent news, these kinds of training are having a negative impact on corporate culture, and they're really not all that effective. So there has to be a better way. ClickArmor is the first gamified learning platform that helps build a self-defending team through engaging learning challenges and exercises. Its unique lesson templates, built with proven gamification techniques, let people learn and exercise important defensive concepts in a safe and fun environment. Whether you need to quickly deploy a training solution that gets people to stop clicking on things immediately, or you've got your own boring content that needs to be put into a more interesting user experience, ClickArmor can help. So go to clickarmor.ca/sharedsecurity to learn how to build a self-defending team.
Joining me for the very first episode of 2021 is co-host and new Tesla owner, Kevin Johnson. How's it going, Kevin? How's the new Tesla?
The new Tesla. That's my new title. I love it. I am not a car person, but I love this car.
It just drives itself, doesn't it?
It does. The only problem I have with it is, so far they've not allowed it to drive on city streets.
Okay.
They can't navigate city streets.
Right.
So when I commute to the office, when I get on the highway, it handles all that. It gets me off of the highway, but then I have to take over. I don't want to pay attention at all. I want it to just like drive me to work.
One day.
Yeah, that's my hope. I love the car. Yes, I'm cool with that.
Excellent. So maybe one day we'll do a full episode on a Tesla, and we'll dig into the details. But that's awesome. Congratulations. It's great. So for the first episode of this year, I really thought it'd be a great idea to start a series on, I guess I'm calling it career conversations, or how to break into a cybersecurity career. And this series is really for people that might be thinking about a career in cybersecurity, and either they don't know where to start or what they should do from maybe a training aspect.
Yeah.
And just like you, Kevin, I mean, I get asked all the time, how did you get into cybersecurity? So thought it'd be a good idea to get people like Kevin and others that are well known in the industry to kind of get their stories of how did they start in cybersecurity, and then maybe talk about some of their tips on training, how to find that job or that first job, and just give everybody some tips and tricks. So since it is a frequent question that we're asked a lot.
I get asked at least once a week.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, and I have a bunch of good references that I'll put in the show notes too, that I've collected over the years that I send people that dig into training that you can get and other types of things. But I wanted to start with, Kevin, you've got. I know your story because I know you very well. I've known about how you got into the cybersecurity industry, or back then it was called InfoSec. Right.
Yeah, right. The hacking field.
Yes, the hacking field. So how did your journey start?
I'm really tempted to make something up just to throw you off. See, like since you do know how I started.
I know.
Random. Well, I was in the Israeli military. And,
yeah, I was in the NSA.
yeah, totally. No, we're not allowed to say that. But so I mean, my journey. And I'm biased. I think my journey is probably the right way to go. But I will also acknowledge that a big part of it is luck, right? Meeting the right person, knowing the right person, whatever. I'm a nerd. I started in IT. I was a developer. I was an admin. I was a developer. I was an admin. I was a developer. I went back and forth for years. And then I was interested in it. Um, Partially, honestly, because when I was younger and dialing into bulletin boards, because I'm old,
Yeah, that
right?
is old. I
There
did
was
too.
that whole underground scene, or whatever you want to call it, where we were passing wares around. We were talking about red boxes and blue boxes and
Cracking software.
cracking software, um, and I, of course, I never did anything that I would
Of
be
course.
loath to admit.
No?
But it was always interesting to me. In 2002, 2003, maybe. I'm trying to remember when. About then. Um, I was working at Blue Cross and I forked Acid, which was the web front end for Snort,
Yeah.
or a web front end for Snort.
Hmm. And you were,
Uh,
what role did you have at Blue Cross?
I was an administrator and then I was an architect.
Okay.
And so I worked with their security team dotted line, right? So
Okay.
when we had an incident, of course, we never had an incident.
No,
Uh,
not in healthcare.
yeah, no, healthcare is the most secure industry ever. And um, but uh, I forked to Acid. I tried to work with the author. He had not updated it in years. It's actually kind of funny. I think I got interested in it because I read an O'Reilly book, Snort and Other IDS Tools,
Yeah.
and I got to a chapter that talked about Acid, and it started the chapter with, even though it hasn't been updated in years. And I was all excited because I had found an error in an O'Reilly book. Um, Turned out it was an error in my mind because
Okay.
they were right, I was wrong, and it meant I was running unpatched software on my network and hadn't realized it. And so I forked the product, started working on it. Joel Essler, who
Hmm.
now I think is still at Cisco, he was at SourceFire when Cisco
Yep.
bought
I
them.
remember that.
He was my co-project lead. We It was a fun tool. By the way, if you are currently running base, stop. I am horribly embarrassed by some of the code. I'd like to blame all the code on the project I forked. It was Some of it was that fault, but many of it was because I'm crap at coding. Um, so, and I went to a SANS course, and Blue Cross paid for it. It's actually the only SANS course I've taken. And the course was by Mike Poor, and they got to the section about base because they actually taught the web front end. Mike found out I was in class, and he had me teach that section.
Oh, that's
Um,
hilarious.
which people have made fun of me later since Mike got paid for me teaching.
Yeah, how's that work?
And I went to dinner with him. A group of students and Mike went to dinner. We went to, it was either Fogo de Chão or Texas Day Brazil, right?
Of course.
Mike. We had to go to
Or
Brazil.
is a Brazilian steakhouse. That makes sense.
Yes. And I'm making picanha for dinner tonight. But so, and he asked me what I wanted to do. I said I wanted to be him. I wanted to be a consultant. I wanted
Except
to
not Brazilian.
not Brazilian, not a redhead. Um, so, but he gave me some advice on some classes I could take. Obviously, heavy sands, and the certifications related to them. I couldn't afford that. I don't come from money. My wife and I both are poor white trash, I think is the right way to put it. So we uh, we looked at it, and I challenged. There were three certs he said I should take:
Mm-hmm.
the GCFA, GCIA, and GCIH. And so I took the IA because I had taken that course 503 from Mike, and then I challenged the other two certs. It's one of the things. It's not something I'm assuming they still let you do it. I don't. It's not something they advertise very much.
Yeah.
You're able to just pay for the cert. I'm not going to take the class. I'm going to take. So SANS certs are open book. Makes it a
Yep.
little bit more difficult if you take them without the books, which is what I did. I passed both tests with a high enough score that SANS asked me to start teaching, and I joined their instructor program. I think I was an instructor for maybe a month when I got the job offer from InGuardians. I had not, they did not give it to me because I was a
Yeah.
SANS instructor. I had been talking to Mike, working through the process to become a consultant, and that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of different things.
Now there
So,
was something about Base and the software that you created that was kind of funny, but also a lesson in security and secure coding. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
are we talking about when which problem with base? Oh my god, there were so many.
The one example you used in your
In
class.
542?
Yes.
Yeah, so we had a I said to her, "Bugs, don't run it."
Yeah.
So we had a bug in base, and I'm going to stop saying we because I'm who wrote
Yes.
this piece of code.
Right.
I'm who deployed it. Like nobody else had anything to do with this bug. It was totally me. So one of the problems with Acid, which was the project I forked, I think I said that, but uh, was that it had no authentication. You didn't have to log in. If you could get to the web interface,
It's helpful. Yeah.
you it was there, right? And while I disagree with the reasoning, I can understand the reasoning, right? It's designed to be run on your system. It's not, like Acid was never designed to be deployed to a server and managed that way. It was just a way for an analyst to very quickly look through snort logs in the database. So I got the brilliant idea to add authentication, and so I did. And let's be very clear: you had the option to authenticate. You also had the option to ignore that. But so I don't know how familiar everybody is with PHP. When you want to stop processing, so you, in this case, check authorization. If the person is authorized, let them in. If they're not, you want to redirect them to the login page, so that they can authenticate to be authorized. And I did that very, very well, but I forgot one line.
Yeah.
So when you do the redirection doesn't happen immediately, or at least it doesn't in previous versions of PHP, and I don't believe it's changed in latest versions. What happens is it finishes processing the PHP page and responds, and part of the response is the redirection, and part of the response is whatever the body of the page is. To stop that, what you do is when you do the redirection, you put a die function in. You can also use, I think it's exit. So it's die parentheses, close parentheses. I forgot that part, that one piece. So if you went to the page unauthenticated, it redirected you. And if you weren't using an interception proxy or something else to detect it, you never knew that your browser got the full response from the site. So you could actually browse every single page, perform every single function. It was made easier because most of base was done through GET requests.
Yeah.
So it was just in the URL. It wasn't even
Yeah.
like you didn't do anything tricky to get to stuff. You just had to have your browser ignore the redirection, and you could browse the entire site. I want to say, I haven't talked to him in forever. Remember Jabra, Josh Abraham?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. I want to say he's who reported the bug to us.
He probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was horrified. It was one of those things like I know better, right? Like I'd like to blame it on ignorance or, I even tried to, I said to somebody once, it was probably late at night that I was doing it. And, cause I would do a lot of work. Yeah. I worked a full-time job. I had kids, or at that time I only had one kid, but, so I would do a lot of work at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I tried to throw it off on that. And somebody went out and looked at SourceForge, and I had actually committed the code like on a Saturday afternoon at like 1 p.m. or something. So there was no excuse that like, I was tired or overworked or something. It was nothing. It was just totally stupidity.
Yeah.
That I messed up. And I try to. I'm not going to say I'm glad it happened. I'm not. I wish it hadn't. But it really taught me to understand that even when you know better, when you understand what you, or at least think you understand, because there's tons of things we don't know and we think we do, and stuff like this. But I knew better than that. I knew, and so yeah. Oh man, I'd not thought about it in a while. And you're absolutely right. When I wrote, so after I joined In Guardians, I actually wrote a class
Hmm.
for SANS, and then after I left In Guardians, I wrote two more. Um, and the class I wrote was 542, the web pen testing course. And one of the exercises in the course is finding and exploiting that vulnerability in base. So
Yeah,
it was my idea, but I thought it'd be fun to like, hey everybody,
absolutely.
I'm your instructor. Would you like to see my crappy code?
Yeah.
Here you go. And
And
yeah,
I love that story because it is just so true that, even today, and that was a long time ago that
it
you,
was.
you wrote base, but it still highlights the problem of insecure code written by developers. And this is still, I mean, application security. This is a huge area in cybersecurity and is still a persistent problem. AI isn't writing custom code for us yet,
And even
but
if it does, it's going to write it badly.
right, because the AI is programmed by humans. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just a great example of this is still a persistent problem, and it's a big reason why people get into cybersecurity because these are interesting problems that we're trying to solve.
I,
So,
I will agree with the one thing you just said. I want to call it out a little bit further. Is that you said it's interesting problems. I
mhm,
think that was back, what, 2005, 2006.
yeah,
That was doing, maybe even before that. It was before that. I'm still finding similar bugs. Right.
yes, yeah, we are too.
We actually had a pen test that was supposed to start Monday, and it's been postponed because the customer has realized they haven't actually fixed the problems, right? And the this is an application we tested them 5 years ago. We found a very similar problem where the application responded with all of the page details, even though you're not authenticated or authorized, which is bad. And then, 5 years goes by, they call us, they ask us to test it again, and they have the exact same problem, just in a different way,
Yep.
right? And they knew about it. This is not new. It is interesting, though. I
It
tell
is.
you, I think the biggest advice I could give to people, and I know you haven't asked yet for advice,
I
but
was just about
what,
to ask.
yeah, what the heck, right? I think the biggest advice I would give to people is to not try to get into cybersecurity directly. I think we have way too many people, and I'm not trying to insult anybody, I'm not trying to demean anybody, but we have way too many people who believe that they can go and take a course or take a college degree or whatever, and I'm a pen tester. That's not the right way to do it, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, I think fewer people should focus on pen testing, and I'm a pen tester, so I probably shouldn't say that. But um, what we need to be focused on is understanding the systems we're defending, understanding the systems we're attacking. And I actually think, and you know, I know that you came to security the same way, right? We go through, whether it's as IT people, as developers, as business people, whatever, and then we adjust into security, because I've said it a million times. I believe it. We can teach anybody how to do security. We can teach anybody how to be a pen tester. Hacking is not hard. What's hard is understanding why that problem is bad for that business, or why that system works that way, and how it has to work, right? Because we can give secure recommendations: do this and this, and you'll be 100% secure. But you'll also be 100% unusable, and your business will close, which means you won't have any worry about being hacked because your business won't exist. um it's very critical for people to know IT, know development, know business, and then learn security. There isn't a certification that's going to teach you that. There's not a class that's going to teach you that. It's just doing it.
Yeah.
It's slow.
It is. Yeah. So what do you recommend to, let's just say, someone that's either in college right now, and I know there's great programs out there now. I'm
There
seeing
is.
colleges that are doing more cybersecurity classes and degree
Yeah.
fields and things. But I know it's really hard to kind of break into that first job.
Yeah.
And back when we started, there wasn't a cybersecurity or
No.
information security career, college degree or anything like that. It was
No.
basically, if you spent time in IT, it was an area that you could get into because it was all new. This is all
Yeah.
brand new. But what do you recommend for people that are having a hard time getting that first job?
I think that what I would recommend is, first off, don't undersell yourself. I've had way too many people approach me and say, I can't find a job. You need people with experience. How about I intern with you? Don't do that. And not because I don't want you to, we don't really do interns. We've had 2 in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
But too many people give up and lower the bar. What I recommend doing is find a company that's local to you. And notice I didn't say a consulting company. My recommendation is go find an organization like Blue Cross or
Mhm.
whoever, the bank, what have you, and then try to get a job there. It's much easier for somebody just starting out to become a SOC analyst or a person working with the blue team or even
Yeah.
the threat hunting team or the red team. If you want to go straight into security, which, like I've already said, I don't recommend that path, but if that's what you want, go for an organization that is bigger. And the reason
Mhm.
I say that is there's a lot of negatives with working with larger companies. But one of the positives is they are more forgiving of a lack of experience. And the reason they are is because somebody like Blue Cross of Florida, where I worked, um, they had enough people on staff that hiring some new people and growing them was safer for them than for a secure
Mhm.
ideas
Right.
who we've got 22 people on staff. If I hire somebody who has no experience and hope they're going to grow it,
Yeah.
they're a big percentage of my business, right? They have a much bigger impact if they don't work out. A company like Bank of America that has 200,000 employees, it's easier to get in a job. And the way that I'd recommend trying to do that is the local organizations like OWASP, ISACA, ISSA, go to their meetings, right?
That's a
If
huge
you
one.
go, right, you go to the local ISACA, it's an auditing group. Guess what they audit? Information security,
Mhm.
right? It's a big part of what they offer. Audit. So you go, you're meeting the actual auditors from Chase or that grocery chain that's headquartered down the street or whatever. And like it said at the beginning, a big part of this industry is who you know, when you meet them, who you can talk to.
That's a huge one. That's a
Yeah.
huge one. Networking and personal networking. I
Yeah.
know for myself and for many others, that has been a key for getting a job or advancing your career. And that, I would also just add to that, local security conferences like B-Sides are
Yep.
great to network people, to find people, talk to people about security, go there with business cards, right? Just, give out your information, look for mentors. That's been a huge part of my career. And I know you as well, Kevin.
Yep. Yep.
And mentors that continues throughout
Yeah.
your career, not just getting into that job.
Yeah. I'll also say becoming involved in projects, right? I'll tell you, Samurai, which
Another
is
one.
project I work
Yep.
with. We constantly are looking for people to help out with the next release. And people say, well, I'm not a developer. Okay. Can you write documentation? Can you
Yes.
test? Can you verify that it works the way it's supposed to work? Right? Can you open tickets in GitHub? Go do that. Right? And volunteer, work with people. And I know I had this conversation with somebody once and they were like, well, that's such a privileged thing to say is, well,
Hmm.
you should volunteer and not get paid. And I want to be very clear. I'm not recommending it so that you don't get paid. If you can't afford
Yeah.
food, don't do this.
Right.
Right? Like that. I agree. Right? I've often said that I've had the privilege of getting to where I am, and I've been blessed with being where I am now. But if you're able to spend some time working with an organization, you're gonna meet people. You're gonna get that next lead. The other thing that I gotta say, and this is one of my pet peeves, and not everybody agrees with me, but the people who don't agree with me are wrong. And so, um, don't buy into the popular media version of hackers, right? Um, I've actually had in the last over 10 years that we've been hiring at Secure Ideas, um, the number of people who will submit something that brags about the illegal activity that they did.
You talk about this all the time. It is
Uh,
unbelievable.
like
Unbelievable.
don't tell me about that cool hack you did on the local credit union, right? Like, not cool.
Yeah.
There's a thing called ethics, and I understand that so many people have fallen at the altar of Kevin Mitnick, right? And oh, the way to get a job is to be convicted of a crime. No, as a matter of fact, if you tell me that you committed a crime, I'm going to violate my insurance by hiring you. If that's how you greet me, right? Don't do that. We are a professional industry, and we play, right? Don't get me wrong. Like I said, we were talking about it before. I just bought a brand new machine. That's my work machine. Do you know one of the first things I installed? Diablo 3, right? Like I, so, I we play games, we joke around, we do things that are relaxed and probably not as buttoned down as a bank or IBM would be. But that's not the way to present yourself to start,
Right.
right?
Yeah, we are in a way. It's interesting because we kind of ride that fine line of
Excuse me.
ethics, and it's very, very easy with the skills and the knowledge that we have to easily cross over to the dark side, if you will,
Yeah.
because of I think, especially if you've been in the industry for a while, you see the vulnerabilities, you see how people get hacked, you see how organizations get breached, and so it's very easy to sometimes meddle in the other side. But ethics is a huge piece of this industry.
Yep.
I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah. The thing I've always said to people is, I'm not who came up with this. I'm quoting somebody that I don't know who I'm quoting. So, I'm not going to credit them. But, it's not just that we have to be ethical. We have to be ethical, but we also have to be seen to be ethical, right?
Yep.
If what you're doing looks bad, it's one of the reasons why at Secure Ideas we don't do remediation,
Hmm.
right, at all. And it's not because we think that people who do remediation are somehow crossing the line. Sorry, but it's because we don't want the perception that we're like that, the stereotypical car mechanic, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not demeaning car mechanics, just that the stereotype has always been you're going to break down in the middle of a small town, the mechanic's going to tell you need headlight fluid and charge you $1 million. We can't be seen to do that, right? We have to be seen to be presenting an unbiased, hey, you have this problem and here's why it's a problem. That goes into getting into the industry just as well.
Yeah. Well, great stuff, Kevin. Well, thank you for again sharing your story with our audience. I think it's going to be much appreciated for those that are looking to get into cybersecurity.
I hope.
But yeah, and check our show notes. I'll put a bunch of links that I've collected over the years, and if you had anything, Kevin, feel free to send those to me. But hopefully that is helpful. And please, send us your questions as well if you have.
Yeah.
We'll leave our contact information. I think everybody knows where to find us by now, but
but it's not.
but if not, we'll leave that for you.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I do want to say I like getting those questions. I like trying to help people.
I do too.
Right. Yeah. There are days where I can't respond right away and it takes a bit, but it's a good thing to be able to help people. So
All right. Well, thanks again, Kevin. And thanks everyone for listening, and Happy New Year to one and all. That's all for this week's show. Be sure to follow the Shared Security Show on Twitter and Instagram for the latest news and show updates. If you like this episode, please hit that like and subscribe button, and be sure you subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for another episode of the Shared Security Show.